welcome to the Sunday morning meditation. We're going to be getting ourselves centered for Jack's incredible message that he'll be giving. And this is actually, meditation too, and then we're going to be doing a silent meditation. We'll lead in with the bowls. But this one is really just centering yourself and just letting yourself get into that higher understanding place where you're more receptive. And so we hope that you'll sing along also, because when I go like this, that's when you repeat what I'm doing. This is a little different, so kind of ease in. But I think you'll really love this chant. Okay. Return to your soul. Perfect. Return to your heart of hearts. To your golden dream. Child inside. And you'll be coming home. Home to where you first belong. Where your roots are strong, where you once belonged, return to your soul. Return to your heart of hearts. To your golden dream. To the child inside. And you'll be coming home. Home to where you first were born. Where your roots are strong. Where you once belonged. God is everywhere. God's painted in eternity. It's who you really are. And who you'll always be. Return to your soul. Remember who you really are. Listen to your heart. Remember who you are. painted in eternity. It's who you really are, and who you'll always be. Return to your soul. Remember who you really are. Listen to your heart. Remember who you are. Return to your soul. Return to your heart of hearts. To your golden dream. To the child inside. And you'll be coming home. Home to where you first were born. Where your roots are strong. Where you once belonged. God is everywhere. God's painted in eternity. It's who you really are. And who you'll always be. Return to your soul. Remember who you really are. Listen to your heart. Remember who you are. Return to your soul.
Good morning, everyone. You have these sheets of paper in the pew in front of you. You can fill it out and you can be in more communication with us through this. And also on the back of it, there's a prayer request area. So if there's any particular challenge you have, or you know someone meeting a particular challenge you'd like them to have special focused prayer for, you can fill out the back of this and put it in the offering, or just leave it at the desk, and it will take place. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
For the month of November, we were sharing the ideal of gratitude as a spiritual path. And I suspect we thought it might conclude on the Sunday before Thanksgiving Day. But it is still wise for us to now look to see that particular statement I made about gratitude being a healing path. We should look into it to discover what and how gratitude heals. It heals awareness. And this is kind of an expanded move away from what most people think about when you talk about spiritual healing. Because the very first thing most people think about is healing the body, the physical body. And that's because most people more closely identify with the physical body as their self, or the self that they acknowledge. But in truth, we need to transcend that total alliance with that definition in order to find our way into the divine consciousness. And this is what we are in the process of doing in Unity. So we want to heal the awareness which from the initial state of consciousness is infected with the illusion of separation, which gives rise to all human error. The illusion of separation is the underlying sin of all sins. It gives rise to mankind's inhumanity to mankind, and man's inhumanity to all other life forms. And it's important for us to begin to see that, because it's not through the volition of any personal willpower that we actually feel our consciousness expand and move. It is through recognition that what we have allowed ourselves to believe and live is flawed. And that helps us to recognize another level of awareness that we can enter. And it is in that level of awareness that we become truly divinely human. And that is the purpose of our existence in the world, a world in which we are capable of reflecting upon our thoughts and our actions. Let's consider this truth as the apostle shared it when he went to Greece. the Apostle Paul went to Greece, and he saw that the Greeks had, erected all of these temples, these monuments, these shrines to these different gods. And then there was one lowly altar that was inscribed to the unknown God. I suspect it's the one altar in Greece at that time that was seldom visited, to the unknown God. And Paul spoke to the people of Greece in this fashion. Can we read this first PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verses 24 to 28. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in shrines made by man, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all men life and breath and everything. And he made from one every nation of men to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their habitation, that they should seek God, in the hope that they might feel after him and find him. Yet he is not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. As even some of your poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. You just have to be considering this last part here. That we should seek after God in hope that we might feel after him and find him. Yet he is not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. As even some of your poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. This is also a departure from traditional Christian belief. In him we live and move and have our being, and he is not glorified by monuments made by mankind, but finds this opening for us, that we should seek and find a reality that is our true being. And it comes to us after having lived a while in an unreality, which is defined by separation and fear. And it comes to us that there must be another way, a better way. And this was said in so many different ways, but very, very shortly it was said in the Gospel of Thomas this way. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? In the Gospel of Thomas, log 17, this is Jesus speaking from the one self. I am the light that is over all things. I am the light in all. From me all has come forth, and to me all has reached. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. I am the one in all, the all-in-one, which is the true self of life. And so we're in the process of seeking to align our awareness with that intelligence referred to as being omnipresent, omniscient, all-wise, all-seeing. And as we align ourselves with that, what would happen if the mind that has only operated from error and blame and fear, concern, consternation, worry, what if that mind were to open to and align itself with the mind of true life? What would happen? There would be a healing. There would be a healing in awareness. And from that point on, all of the errors that we are part of bringing forth in our relationships and our experience would diminish. And we would be able to truly be expressions of healing, a healed awareness, understanding that which the limited consciousness cannot understand at all and never has any peace until it seeks the truth and becomes free in the awareness that we are not personally self-created. And so that truth is what we are embracing at all times in our experience, to the point when any mind releases the illusion of separation, that mind enters the true level of awareness, acknowledging there is the presence of God in everything. Just as it is said, if you cleave a piece of wood, you'll find me there. Lift up a stone, I am there. I am the one in all, I am the all in one. I am the one and only in you, in everything you see. And so it is incumbent upon us to fake that awareness until the knowing of it comes forth in our awareness. We can fake that awareness that there is only God. Can you see how everything would become sacred at that point? Would you have to create a dogma that tells people, if you do this, you won't be right with God, and later when you drop the body, you won't go to heaven? A dogma that says, no, you really shouldn't pollute the rivers or the air you breathe. You shouldn't, cheat. You shouldn't manipulate to try to gain your ascendancy. You shouldn't forever try to promote your personality in relationship to the destruction that it creates in your relationships. You should be awake, open, willing to flow with the majesty of truth, and there find the joy and the peace and the love that is spoken about in the Scripture. You see, in the Scripture, Jesus disappears as a man. The things he says could not be said by someone who's still identified with himself as being a physical personality. And it's that transformation that we are all called into. And so, A Course in Miracles, when we speak about the one in all, the all in one, and that giving rise to the fact that everything we look at is sacred and worthy of gratitude, that path is open to us in every moment. And let's have what the Course in Miracles relates to cogently and perfectly. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the text, the old text, page 201, or in the new edition, page 217. Only appreciation is an appropriate response to your brother and sister. Gratitude is due him for both his loving thoughts and his appeals for help. For both are capable of bringing love into your awareness if you perceive them truly. And all your sense of strain comes from your attempts not to do just this. How simple, then, is God's plan for salvation? There is but one response to reality, for reality evokes no conflict at all. There is but one teacher of reality, for reality evokes no conflict at all. There is but, no. He does not change his mind about reality because reality does not change. Although your interpretations of reality are meaningless in your divided state, his remain consistently true. Can we take this back again, please? Only appreciation is an appropriate response to your brothers and sisters. Gratitude is due them for both their loving thoughts and their appeals for help. You see, Course in Miracles defines every affront, every offense committed by anyone as a call for love, because it is something that is carried out in ignorance of its connection to everything that lives. So every limited, fear-driven, angry thought is a call for blessedness, forgiveness, total, and love, knowing that such is struggling toward the light and doesn't know it yet. So we can leave that for now. Embracing this truth gives credence to the scripture. How quickly we dropped this when we were young, I guess. Some of you young, I never knew of it when I was young. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love even your enemies. Do good to those who would persecute you. Pray for them. Even we should forgive even those who would offend over and over again. How many times Peter asks the Master, should I forgive an offender? 7 times. The Master says, no, 70 times 7. Do you see how this whole thing is so arranged for us? When we get ready to decide to find our way into the higher paradigm of God consciousness. It's all there. We didn't look at it for a while. We feared it for a long time. The ego didn't want to know it for a long time. I remember reading about a young man who went to prison. He was involved in dope trafficking and that, and he had made a lot of money, bought cars, and had estates even in different countries. And he was caught, and everything, he lost everything. He went to prison. But at the time he went, just as he was in the process of losing everything, he realized there was something amiss because he couldn't find peace. He had all of this, but couldn't find peace. So he was starting his own spiritual journey at that time when he was arrested, thrown in jail. And the one thing he completely could not handle in jail was the noise. He was in the county jail for 2 years. And they had these, these inmates had these boom boxes, and there was always rap music on it. And he just could not get up to a place where he could be still and meditate. Finally, he was sent to prison, and he was in this prison, and he started to work out his own awakening, his spiritual awakening, knowing that he had to look past the seeming limitations of human awareness. And that's what he was in the process of doing. But he would run in the morning, at 6 a.m. in the morning, they would open the yard where you could go out in the yard before breakfast. And he would go out into the yard because nobody else would go out there in the morning like that. And he would try in a quiet corner, sit on the ground and meditate. And the first couple of times he did that, it was beautiful. But then the third time he was out there, these gangbangers came out with boom boxes on their shoulder, playing rap music. And he just was trying to say, how do I look past this? How do I understand this is still part of God? And at that point, I wonder if you'll believe this when I say it. At that point, the rap music turned to celestial music and beautiful ethereal sounds. And the voice within him said, this is how God hears rap music. Amazing thing that he had that experience. I guess he was completely devoted at that point. After that, he never enjoyed rap music. He hated it still, but he understood it enough to look beyond it and not allow it to just completely destroy his awareness of being one with God. I had a similar experience right here. We used to have the church on Spruce Street. It's amazing how criminals, no matter how desperate they are, seem to know a little bit of something about spirituality. Because we had that church on Spruce Street and had an annex that we used for a Sunday school and that we rented out during the week for a school. But on Sundays, we had Sunday school teachers who would come over for the fellowship and leave their purse in their classroom, because we were doing 2 services then. And they were told, don't do that, because there's somebody that actually preys on churches, goes over there, and that's where they snatch these purses. So we had a couple of gals lose their purse. And then one Easter, I just got the inclination to go over there while fellowship was taking place. And sure enough, I saw the guy with a purse coming out of one of the classrooms, and I grabbed him. He was small enough for me to grab him. And I grabbed him, and I said, you are just an absolute bottom-feeding, and I used a few expletives, low life. But let me tell you this. If I ever see you around this church or these grounds again, I will turn you into the police, and I will see to it that you are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I shook that into him. And he looked at me, and he said, yeah, whatever happened to forgiveness? I kid you not. Whatever happened to forgiveness? And even though at that point I resented him totally, and I know I still held resentment for thieves like that. But when I walked away from there, it really opened me up, because this guy was maybe 30 years old. And I didn't try to even reason through him having some kind of backstory. It's possible this guy was married with a couple of kids that he couldn't feed. It would have lightened my feelings at that point. I don't think I would have had such resentment if I knew he was desperate. It's possible he wasn't, but still. So you see, it was an awakening because, in a sense, that line from him was from God. It's the same as St. Francis was always terrified of lepers. And then once he was guided to kiss a leper. And when he kissed the leper, he recognized it to be Christ. So you see, this path, we have to jettison all the collections we have in judgments from the illusionary personality self. And we rise above that. So we can rise above it today when we recognize that the words you're about to see were channeled by Helen Schuckman. She wrote it, Course in Miracles, for 7 years. Never took a penny for it, even after it was done. Not even after it became an international best-selling spiritual book. I suspect she had enough money to live on. She was a psychologist, a trained psychologist, who found her way into writing this Course in Miracles because she couldn't figure out how to deal with the insanity in the clinic where she worked. And she was talking about the insanity of the people that worked there as doctors and helpers. And then through this break from worldly education and thinking, through that break, she started to have dreams. And those dreams led to the voice that said, write this. Can we have this next PowerPoint? You can read this in the old Course in Miracles, 359, the new one, 385. Heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? The belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you realize. You have displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your body deceive yourself. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered into it, and it would remain separate from your brothers, which it cannot do. Take this back again, please. Can you imagine the majesty of such truth coming through? Heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? For God is in everything, everywhere, all the time. What else is there to give? The belief you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, your ego seeking to glorify and promote its personality, has cost you the awareness of heaven and of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You have displaced your guilt, your self-betrayal, to your body from your mind. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your body, deceive yourself. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered into it, and it would remain separate from your brothers, which it cannot do. It is the reason why guilt is lodged in the consciousness of every outer-driven, illusion-driven human being. Because the false definition of self so claims our consciousness and is forever attempting to promote its personal glory and would hold itself separate. Because how can the ego-centered perception of life be of any value even to the ego unless, listen to it, unless it can compare itself to those who are lesser in stature, in wisdom, in money, in prestige. How else could it promote itself unless it could project its specialness and have it precede itself into every relationship and taint that relationship for the purpose of its own glorification? So it would remain separate from all others. And when we surrender that, we return to the recognition of the divine presence, the image and likeness that we were created in every person, in every place, in every condition. Moved only to bless, bestow peace, and to have gratitude we're going to meditate together, listen to our bowls, and just as our friend Sadyam Nadine, I think his name was, who went to prison, heard the glorious celestial sounds, all life becomes beautiful and worthy to be lived. When we listen to it that way, just let ourselves be here, okay with it. And when we get to that place of silence in this meditation, if you don't have a particular meditation technique, you may want to hold this affirmation. Everything I look upon, everything I see, is only God looking back at me. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to prove appreciation, gratitude, surrender, and peace. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And so you can make a physical offering here or in the lobby at the dip jar, which is for credit cards. And then those of you online can go down to where it says donate. It will explain to you the different ways you can donate to Unity of Boulder. So let's bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity, and let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. Ishkala mabudlila, Ishkala mabudlila, Ishkala mabudlila, Ishkala mabudlila. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever